In this feature review series video, we're going to take a look at Evolve's space management functions. From the Evolve desktop, we can either select space management from here or from the icon on the bottom if I already have it open, having done other things. We're going to spend some time in the grid part of Evolve's space management functions, and we're going to spend some time in drawing management as well. So first we're going to go to space management. Hierarchically, spaces belong to floors, floors belong to buildings, and buildings belong to properties. That's the structural hierarchy of the space part of Evolve. In addition, you have assignments as far as cost centers, departments, and if you go further up the food chain, you could have subdivisions and divisions, or whatever your equivalent nomenclature might be. We're also going to assume, for the sake of expediency, that prior to looking at this video, you've looked at the organizational structure video and understand the relationship of cost centers to departments, etc. So here I've highlighted the space record, and we'll hit the open button and take a look at the details of what's in a space record. The ID, the name can obviously be whatever you want it to be, as can the description. The property, building, and floor are selected from pull downs, and the space category, class, and subclass we've talked about some already. So the FICM tab here has a lot to do with higher education space management, and is currently just a placeholder. We're not doing any processing of FICM yet. You can have pictures related to the space if you want to. Contacts here imply people who, maybe someone who's responsible for managing that space, or an IT person perhaps, something like that. People that you need to reach if certain things need to be done to that space. Occupants is key here. You want to know who's in that space. We have 2 people here now. We could add, move people out, remove. Could do whatever we needed to do here to change the occupancy of the space if we needed to. What assets populate the space? In this case, there aren't any assets that we're keeping track of in this space. Allocation is something we talked about a little bit before in the organizational structure video. In this case, this space is being shared by 2 different cost centers, and each of them is taking 50% of that space. Lastly, if there were any documents associated with the space, you could store them here. And now let's go over to the drawing viewer and take a look at this floor, and here we can see the space here highlighted that we were talking about, C2608. We can see the people that are here. So now we're looking at a subset of the data that's in that actual space record. And as you can see, I can look at the grid down here and see substantially the same things I saw on the grid over in the space module. You notice that the cost center says varies because more than one person is in the space, and the space is assigned to 2 different cost centers. We may have touched on this in other videos, but when you're in the drawing viewer, clicking on spaces down in the grid highlights them in the drawing up here, as you can see. So if I come back to 608 and I highlight it, I click on it, it highlights up here. Also, I can come over here and open that space record substantially the same way I do in the space module. And here I'm looking at exactly the same record. And I have substantially the same editing capability I have over in the space module. One of the neat things I can do here is come down to the themes button, pull up a list of themes, and I could say, for example, I want to color this floor plan by cost center. It'll give you a pretty good idea. And let me get the highlight off that. And now you can see that this particular space, which is assigned with 2 different people belonging to 2 different cost centers, the drawing hatches out and colors up according to the colors assigned to the cost centers that these employees belong to. Here you can see some of the different themes you can use to color any floor plan in EvolveFM. You can also create additional themes that will report and display the kinds of information that are useful to you and add them to this list. Going back to the grid view of space before we wrap this up, and just to reiterate some of the things you already know, you can see the fact that we can show all the different fields that are available in a space form and what we can display across the grid and check off and check on, and that we can drag all the titles around so that we can get a view of space that makes sense to us, that we can name that view and make it the default view that comes up every time we want to come in and do some work in the space area, whether we want to do it here or whether we'd like to do it from the drawing menu. And this pretty much concludes our short review of space management in EvolveFM. We thank you for watching.